In the next 10 seconds to find yourselves moving next to someone you've never met before or are not as familiar with as people you're currently sitting next to. Ready? Go. We're making new friends.
Well, I'm stuck here. So.
I know you.
I know. A lot of you.
What's about you guys? I don't know you. What's your name?
Oh, you don't mind?
I don't know. You don't seem very nice. No.
I'm like the corner. I'm like the most easygoing person.
Okay. You're good. Thank you for participating. All right, here we go. You're going to turn to that person next to you. You're going to ask them these 3 questions or tell them these 3 statements. Tell me something I don't know about you. Tell me something you like about me. And tell me something we might have in common.
Okay. Dr. Berkey was there, but
I do this with my students at the beginning of every year for 2 big reasons. 1, because obviously we don't know each other yet, and 2, it's going to require a lot of thinking on your part. We're going to get your brain started. Normally, and I'm sure you've all been through this, you have a lot of days where, in the beginning of the school year, where teachers are, what's your name, what's your phone number, how do I get in touch with your parents? This is different. This is really opening up your students, and everything in your brain is about emotion. No matter everything you've learned, just remember emotion's a big deal. So what I ask my students to do is to do this affinity process. Reason being, they're a little challenging. Tell me something I don't know about you. Well, that's super easy, right? Because I just met you. Tell me something you like about me. This is challenging in a different way. It's a little bit emotionally challenging because if I don't know you and I don't know a lot about you, telling you something I like about you really is going to make me think. And a lot of us go for the easy answer. Oh, I like your shirt. You know, I like your hair. It's very nice. But even those little compliments help perk up a student. The last one, tell me something we have in common. Did that make you think? I can guarantee it did. Because if you don't know this person, you have to think, okay, well, what's something I have that someone else might have? And it can be as simple as, well, we're both blonde, or we're both brunettes, or it can be as deep as, I have a younger brother who plays high school football too. Okay. I enjoy teaching to the brain. As we go, you'll see why. It's kind of, I'm all about, my big thing is student accountability. I want my students to take ownership of their learning. And to help them with that, I want them to learn how to use their brains effectively. In other countries, they actually take a class. There are a handful of countries where students take a class to teach them how to go to school. How to go to school. Did any of you take that class? Nope, didn't think so. The United States is it's not a huge thing. We send students to school, they learn as they go. In China, for example, students take a class in the beginning of their careers, they learn how to go to school, how to take notes, how to ask questions, how to get the most out of what they're doing. This is how I do it. So what you need to know. My name is Stephanie Hortsman, call me Stephanie Cole. I graduated in 2009. I'm a French teacher, so my background is all languages, so this is very handy to me, but I made sure that this is something you can use at any level. I've seen it taught to 4-year-olds, and I've seen it taught to college seniors. And I've seen it taught in just about every subject area possible. Okay. My email address is really hard to see, I'll give that to you at the end. These methods come from a variety of professional development. The first is, my favorite, is called quantum learning. And quantum learning is exactly what it says. It's about learning with your brain. The rest are other programs that I'm familiar with, and I've taken a few things out of them, but quantum learning is the big one. So here's what works in my classroom. Raise your hand, SLANT, which is an acronym, and I'll get to that in a minute. Be your best self and try. Can anybody tell me what's similar about these statements? Or how about what's different about them?
Okay, so like some are easy, like raise your hand and try. That's pretty basic. But be your best self is like much more complicated.
Absolutely.
I don't know about some.
Okay, we'll get there, no worries. Good, does everybody agree with that? Okay, is there anything else that's similar or different about them?
They're all phrased in a positive way.
Absolutely.
For something similar, they're all student focused.
They are all student focused, absolutely, very good. All right, let's talk about each of those. Let's go positive first. Positive kind of goes hand in hand with the student thing. Actually, they all kind of tie together, but positive. If you tell a student no or don't or you use anything in the negative form, what's the first instinct that they're going to have? Do it anyway. Like, ooh, now it's illegal, let's try. Okay, ooh, it's taboo, let's give it a go. Why? Because they're curious, they want to know. The why is the big, well, why can't I do this? What's so good about it that they're taking it away? That's exactly it. So if you can make all of your what works in a positive way, it's going to be to your benefit because they're like, okay, well, it's exactly what you said. It makes sense. I can do that. I can raise my hand. She didn't say don't raise my hand. She's like, okay, it's okay. Slant. I'm skipping slant a lot, but we'll get there. Be your best self. What does that mean to a student? Does that mean you have to get an A? Not necessarily. That's what's ingrained in their heads. But for some students, an A might not be possible. For some students, passing is good enough. And I teach in a high school, so where graduation rate's not very high, so passing is a big deal. So if passing is all they can do, whether it's an A or D, it's positive. And try. I always say try. The 2 ways to fail my class: don't show up, don't try. Because if you don't show up, you can't learn it, and if you don't try, you're not going to get anything done. These are, I call them what works. Most schools would call these rules. What are rules made for?
When they're
Can
broken.
be broken. So this is I'm like, yes, these are my rules, but really, this is what works in my classroom. This is what's going to help our classroom run well. And I let my students know that right off the bat. Here's what works in my room. If you feel like something is not going to work, let's talk about it. Because they're just as responsible for the classroom as I am. All right, so there's a difference as well. There are guidelines and there are rules. I have both. Guidelines deal with attitude and behavior. Be respectful. Be positive. Be on time. And they should connect to your rules. Most theorists say that you should have a maximum of 6 rules. That doesn't happen, but it could. I have 9 in my room. I teach high school, so I kind of stretch the limits there. But if you can keep it to around 6, you're usually pretty good. Rules are specific, and they are measurable and observable. If I tell you be polite, what am I asking you to do? If I tell you be respectful, what am I asking you to do? If I tell you be on time, your brain doesn't like to be vague. Brain wants to know exactly what is going on. So instead of saying be on time, I'm going to say be in your seat when the bell rings, or before the bell rings. The more specific you can be, the more measurable it is. This is exactly what I'm asking for. I can observe this happening, and students can see what that looks like. If they're strolling in the door as the bell rings, were they on time? No, because I asked that they be in their seats. If they're not in the room, they have to go get a tardy pass. That's how my district runs. If they try to come in the room without a tardy pass, the bell's already rung, what's the guideline? What works in my room? And they're responsible for that. They know those things. That's brain friendly. So here's slant. Successful students slant. They sit up. They lean forward, just a little bit. They ask questions. They nod their heads, yes or no. Shake kind of helps too. And they talk to the teacher. You control your brain as much as your brain controls you. So if you are in a class and you lean back and you yawn and you are thinking about the party you're going to next week, or you are thinking this class is so boring, your brain's going to go along with that. But if you are in a class, and this works especially well in classes where you don't like, that you don't like, if you can sit up, lean forward, think to yourself, I'm not getting this information from anywhere else. I'm going to nod my head when I see something that I agree with, I'm going to shake my head when I'm not so sure about something, and I'm going to talk to my teacher and ask questions. You can trick your brain into being more, or to having more adrenaline. and to being more willing to learn. It's a positivity thing. The brain's all about emotion. So let's go shopping. President Balls has given me his credit card for one lovely weekend, and we are going to make the perfect classroom. We can get 20 items in any amount, but I just need to know what are the 20 items that we would like to get for your perfect classroom. Oh, come on. Yes.
A smartboard.
A smartboard. What else?
I feel like a dummy because I was going to say magnets. I mean,
That's absolutely fine. I love magnets as well. I have old school legit chalkboards in my room at where I work. Come on, I need 20.
whiteboards for other students.
Whiteboards for every student. Absolutely. It's a staple.
Can we get a classroom set of iPads?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're going to get iPads. We're going to get kind of like a billion. What else? What would make your classroom run smoothly?
Well, you need desks and chairs for your students.
Sure. Do we want to keep those together or separate?
Furniture.
Separate.
All right,
Okay.
what kind of
Oh, I see
furniture?
what you're saying.
Furniture is good, but do we want
Yeah.
just desks and chairs? What else do we want? We want tables. Absolutely.
Inspirational posters.
Ooh, posters. And all positive ones.
Books.
Books. Why not?
Different kind of lights, like
Ooh,
lamps.
Brain likes light. Yes. Very good. So lamps. Actually, this is the worst kind of lighting you can have in a classroom. Absolutely. Natural light's the best, but we close the windows. What else?
A carpet for the floor.
Oh, a pretty carpet, like a reading carpet. Sure.
Pillows for the reading carpet.
Pillows for the reading carpet. I do love pillows.
Like art utensils? Like
Art?
markers and colored
Oh, like art
pencils?
supplies?
Yeah.
Sure. I do a lot of coloring with my students. They don't always like it, but I do. Sure.
Can we buy some paint to paint the walls? Not
Paint
white.
for the walls, yes. Absolutely. A clock? Sure. I don't teach science, but I'm going to throw some plants into the mix.
Yeah.
Why not just like paper?
Paper, sure. All kinds of paper. This is called flip chart paper. This is like the staple of my life because I dislike chalk. And that's what I have at my school. I have a smartboard in the middle of my chalkboard and everything else is chalk. What else? 2 more. We can do this.
Well, we need some. Yeah, I'm sorry. We need some probably desktop computers. The smartboards
Okay.
aren't. The iPads aren't always going to be
Yeah.
powerful enough.
So we'll have desktops. And last one.
It's like a programmable thermostat.
Ooh. We want to control the weather. Absolutely. Okay. I'm going to give you 2 minutes, and I don't have any tape, so these last 2 down here are lamps and thermostat. Let's see if I can unroll it. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to see how many of these you can memorize. Agreed? Do you want me to read through them one more time? Let's go. I'm going to go through them real fast for you. So, smartboards, magnets, whiteboards, iPads, and we want a lot of those. Desks, chairs, tables, posters, books, lamps, carpet, pillows, art supplies, a filing cabinet, paint, specifically for the wall, a clock, plants, paper, desktop computers as well, and a thermostat that we can control. Okay? So I'm going to give you 2 minutes. I want to see how many of those you can memorize. And we're going to have a little competition. All right. Do I have anyone who thinks they were able to memorize all 20? Do I have anyone who thinks they were able to memorize 15 out of the 20? Are you willing to be a brave soul and prove it?
Sure.
Okay. What I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to move this forward a little bit. And if you come stand slightly behind it so that we know you can't see, and recite however many you think you've memorized. Take your time.
So you have your smartboard, iPads, desktops, reading, books, your pillows, your carpet, thermostat, plants, lamps, chairs, desks, tables, paper, art supplies, paint, magnets, filing cabinet, we have
I'm pretty sure you only missed 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Give me a round of applause, right? Anybody else? No, no one willing.
You rocked it.
All right.
Jessica, math people don't memorize things.
No.
Right?
No, yeah.
Yeah,
There's-
it's wired.
It is. And, it took me a while to learn this technique, but here's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to recite all 20 of these for you. These are the power pegs. And then I will explain what power pegs are. All right, I'm going to stand behind this. Now, we made this list together, right? There's absolutely no way I could have known what this was beforehand. Okay, ready? 1 is a smartboard. 2 was magnets. 3 was whiteboards. 4 were iPads. 5 were tables. 6 were chairs. 7 was a table. 8 were posters. 9 was books. 10 were lamps. 11 was carpet. 12 were pillows. 13 were art supplies. 14 were filing cabinets. 15 was I'm skipping 15 for a minute. 16 was a clock. 17 was plants. 18 was paper. 19 were desktops. 20 was a thermostat. And 15 was paint. Quiz me. Ask me a number.
5.
5 was tables.
That was your one mistake. Yeah.
It was close to these.
Oh, desks.
Okay.
Darn it. 5 was desks. Okay. Keep going. I can do it.
12.
12 were pillows.
16.
16 was clock.
9.
9 were books.
7.
7 was a table.
15.
15 was the one I struggled with, which was paint. Reverse it. Ask me a number and I'll tell you what it was. Out of order.
iPads.
iPads were number 4.
Carpet.
Carpet was 11. paper was 18.
Magnets.
Magnets was 2.
14.
14 was filing cabinet. Have I blown your minds yet?
Yes.
Okay.
Convinced.
Here's what I'm going to show you. First of all, let me tell you the theory behind this. These are visual, they're auditory, they're kinesthetic. Do you know, we know those? Visual. They are visual, use your eyes. They are auditory, you're going to be able to hear what we connect to, and they are kinesthetic because it requires me to move. Did you notice the first time I went through it that I was doing little gestures? That was what helped me. Okay, so here are the power pegs. Whoops. Other side too. First 5 of the power pegs. 1 is sun. You put your hands over your head. 2, eyes, because we have 2 of them, and the gesture is just looking. 3 is a triangle. 3 sides, pretty relevant. 4 is floor, rhymes. 4, floor. 5 is fingers. Let's do those with me. 1, sun. 2, eyes. 3, triangle. 4, floor. 5, fingers. Okay, so it's visual. You can see me doing it. It's auditory. I'm saying them as I go, and it's kinesthetic. You're doing it with me. Please remember, this is like the #1 brain rule you could possibly remember. If you do it 100%, your students will maybe do it 80%. If you do it at 80%, your students will maybe do it at 60%. If you do it at 60%, your students will maybe do it at 40%. And if you don't believe it at all, your students won't believe it at all either. Okay? So first time again, one more time. 1, sun, 2, eyes, 3, triangles, 4, floor, 5, fingers. You got those down? All right, here's the next 5. 6, drumsticks. Like you're banging on a drum. So 6, sticks, 7 up. So I think of the drinking motion, 7 up. 8 is my favorite, octopus. 8 legs. 9, baseball. This can go a lot of different ways. If you're familiar with baseball, you know there's 9 innings, and there's also 9 players on the field. So the motion for 9 is a baseball bat. Okay. 10 is just kind of a funny one, hen. It rhymes. 10, hen. Okay. So let's start at 6 and go through 10. 6, sticks, 7, up, 8, octopus, 9, baseball, 10, hen. Okay. 1 through 10. Really fast. Ready? 1, sun, 2, eyes, 3, triangle, 4, floor, 5, fingers, 6, sticks, 7, up, 8, octopus, 9, baseball, 10, hen. Okay? That's how I did the first 10. The other thing that's going to help, remember I told you what is the brain all about?
Emotion.
Emotion. What's the best emotion for students? Humor. So if you can go through these and make some connection, the first thing I thought of was 1, smartboard. That is the sun of my classroom. That is where everything happens, because I dislike chalk. I do use the chalkboard, but that's exactly what I thought. That was my connection. I made it personal, I made it relevant to myself. The smartboard in my room is the sun. There's only one of them, it's right in the middle, holds everything together. 2, magnets. It just made sense. I kind of imagined, you know, there's 2 little magnets here and I'm pulling them out, or however you want to do it. 3, I imagine my whiteboards as triangle shaped. 4, for the floor, I imagine a floor made out of iPods or iPads. I don't know why that would happen, but the humor behind it helps. 5 fingers, my students doing this all the time, which is why I thought table, because there's tables in here. 6, sticks, just thought about somebody banging on a chair, pretty easy. 7, up, that's where you take your 7 up off the table. 8, posters, an octopus with a lot of posters, a very funny image to come up with. 9, baseball, a lot of books about baseball, that was pretty easy. And 10, hen is always something that the hen is, you know, laying. So my eggs in this situation were the light bulbs for the lamps. All right, so those are the first 10. Here's 11 through 12. 11 looks like a light post. And usually we say 11, go! 12 are 12 dozen eggs. You're breaking eggs on your forehead. 13 is a one that for some reason students always love, black cat. They're like, "Meow." Black cat. 14 is heart. Anybody get the connection there?
Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day, absolutely. And 15, on here it's tennis, which is, you can do like a backhand. The one that I do is quinceañera, because I worked with a lot of ELL students and I have a high Hispanic population of students I work with, so I think of my quinceañera. But you can do whichever is more relevant to you. So let's do those 5 together, please. 11, goal. 12, dozen, or 12 eggs. 13, black cat. 14, heart. And 15, whichever one. I always do the quinceañera. That's what's relevant to me. And I like snapping. All right, here's the last one. 16 is the age at which you can drive. 17 is a magazine. 18 is the age at which you graduation. You're going to throw your cap. This is old school, but 19-inch screen or 19-inch TV, making the box. And $20. Okay. We do all. We'll start at 11 and go through it. Ready? Actually, let's start at 16 because I just taught you those. As I kill myself. Ready? 16, driving. 17, magazine. 18, graduation. 19-inch screen. $20. And now from 11. 11, goal. 12, eggs. 13, black cat. 14, heart. 15 is my quinceañera. Yep. 16, driving. 17, magazine. 18, graduation. 19-inch screen. $20. All right. Because these are visual, auditory, and kinesthetic, students will take to them. Your brain loves it. And you can do these with anything. I had a colleague that used them in English with gods and goddesses, help students memorize them, and he actually rigged it so that, for example, Apollo was the sun, and Medusa was eyes, I think. I mean, it was pretty cool. You can rig it however you want. You can do it alphabetical order. You can do it so that one makes, this is the most important and 20 is the least important, and you don't have to do all 20 at a time. If you're teaching your students 5 to 10 vocabulary words in a month or a week, you can just do the first 10. And you can switch it up. So if you're teaching, 1 through 5, this week is vocabulary words, next week 1 through 5 is the process for I don't know, something in science, because I'm not very good at science. Okay. There's all kinds of ways that you can manipulate this. And obviously, it can be as simple as something like this. It can be as difficult as gods and goddesses. I do it with vocabulary words when I teach French. You can do it, every subject area's got vocabulary words. There's all kinds of ways to play with this. So power pegs are a great thing to know. If I'm running out of time. All right.
Can I ask a quick question?
Absolutely.
So I can associate those with these because I know what those words are. Right? I'm a native English speaker. I know what a smartboard is.
Yes.
If it's a French term and I really didn't have prior knowledge about what it meant, how does that make sense? What I'm saying?
Yes. No. Absolutely. What the way that I run it in my room is that we make our list first out of vocabulary. I believe in a process called experience before labels. So I tell my students, this is our theme. This is what we're talking about. This week we're talking about family. What kind of family members do we have? And we do the English first, and then we throw the French in next to it. And they will do both. Okay. So if number 1 is mom, then we'll do mom, and I will put mère as we go through. So they experience the English before they label the French. Okay. It's nice because I teach thematically, and that's how my book is set up. There are some instances where I won't do themes, like verbs aren't necessarily thematic, so I use song for that instead, because brains like songs. Mm-hmm. They like acronyms, they like order. My brain numbers, real fast before we go, the average attention span of your students or yourself is going to be half of your age. So how many of you are going into elementary school? Good luck. I couldn't do it. Major props to you guys because I couldn't handle it. I have a hard enough time with my 18-year-olds who can't sit still for 10 minutes. Okay. I use the acronym 3 or 4, no more. When you're teaching something, and I broke my cardinal rule today when I taught in groups of 5, usually I try to, your brain will associate in groups of 3 or 4. So if you can break things down into 3s or into 4s, if you can do, when you're doing worksheets, you do 4 columns or 3 columns. Anything that simplifies in 3s and 4s is great for your brain. Usually we say 3 is key, and this is why. 3 is key because of the 10-24/7 review. When you teach something, your brain processes backwards. Okay? So whatever your last class of the day is, when you go to bed, your brain processes backwards. So that's the first thing that you remember. So if you have, I teach all the same class, but say you have, while you are in your classes right now, you have English, math, science, reading, you go out, or you go home and do some homework, you go out to a party, and then you come home. When your brain processes, the first thing it processes is that party. Party, homework, reading, science, math, English. So what it enjoys is called a 10-24/7. You need to review within the first 10 minutes. You should review within 24 hours, and you should review within 7 days. So you teach 10 vocabulary words, you've done it in groups of 3 or 4, or if you have to 5, and you're going to go through that list, have the students work on something, and then come back and review within the next 10 minutes. Then tomorrow, you're going to refresh that vocabulary with them. So whether it's reviewing 5 of them that day and 5 the next day, or 3 that day and 3 for the next few days, within the next 24 hours. And then within the next 7 days. So if you take and teach vocabulary or grammar or whatever process or whatever chapter on Monday, and 3 Fridays later you have a test and you haven't gone back to that, good luck. Don't expect too much. There are some kids who will be fine. Most kids need that extra review. So if you review vocabulary, if you do vocab every Monday, your students are going to start to snap. They're going to know the process. Their brain's going to love that. Some other food for thought before I let you go. I'll put these all up at once. Emotions and thoughts can't be separated, especially if you're going into secondary, especially in a teenage brain, because all they ever want to talk about is themselves, or the big fight that happened down the hallway, or what's going on outside of, at home. If you teach something and the student's having a bad day, whenever you reteach that, they're going to have not good connections to it. Does that make sense? So if a student is having a bad day, the first thing to do is try to distract them from the bad day and get them moving and having fun. But if not, kind of be aware that this is how your brain is connected. It's gonna, if it's positive, it's positive. If it's negative, it's negative. Your brain looks for patterns as you organize. So you saw that as I did my slant. What was I asking you to do? Sit up, lean forward, ask questions, nod your head. There's a pattern there, and it matched with the acronym. Your brain, the same thing with the power pegs. There's that order that I went in. We went numerically, and I gave you things that your brain could relate to. Practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes permanent. So if something is taught incorrectly or you make a mistake, never, ever, ever hurts your students for you to be like, okay, hold on a minute. No, I said that wrong, or I did that backwards. You'll find those students who are like, Miss So-and-so, you wrote the wrong number. That's not the right answer. Okay, great. Show me how to fix it. What did I do wrong? I'm just testing you. It's that kind of situation. Because if they learn it wrong, they will remember it wrong. And there's no harm, even if you come back 24 hours later and say, guys, I totally realized yesterday I spelled this word wrong. Probably 9 out of 10 of your students will still remember the first way. Your brain seeks novelty. That pretty much just means it wants to have a good time. The first thing and the last thing that you teach are key. If the first thing you do is take attendance in your classroom and you call roll, chances are your students, the first thing they're going to remember tomorrow is who was absent, as opposed to what was the warm-up or the bell ringer. What was that topic? What was our objective? And the last thing. So if you, okay guys, do your homework and then, and then you can go. As opposed to, what's our closing? What did you learn today? What were the 3 things you learned? What were the 2 things you need help with? What was the 1 thing that you totally took from today? Or I do, we call them what stuck with me. They get a Post-it note. They have to write 1 thing that they learned. They put it on the board as they're on their way out the door. So that's the last thing that they remember. That's my average. And processing time is crucial, which is just obvious. So whenever you are teaching something, you're giving them time to make their own connections. And I think that more than does it. I apologize. I had more, but I overdid it. Any questions? Do you think you can use your power pegs? I guarantee you, I've seen 4-year-olds do it, and I've seen 24-year-olds do it. It really does help, especially when you've got tons of vocabulary. Well, thank you.